Introducing health and wellness advocate, veteran international real estate investment expert, author and speaker, Adiel Gurel.
Health tips, fitness tips, nutrition and well-being, world-class experts, all right here on my podcast, The Adiel Gurel Show. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again. What a joy to learn from great experts that come on this show. Today, it's very exciting. We have Angela Zeng here. Welcome to the show, Angela.
Well, thanks for having me here. It's truly an honor being on your show, sharing my experience, my cultural heritage, and my entrepreneur experience with your audience.
It's very, very lovely. Maybe you can take us through your own journey, how you began, what were the roads that you took to lead you to what we'll be talking about here today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, people always get very curious why you started Karviva, right? The brand is formerly known as Karuna. Karuna is an ancient word from Indian. So basically, it comes from Buddhism, means compassion. Is one of the 4 foundations for happiness and longevity. I think it's pretty easy for people to understand, right? Without compassion toward ourselves, like our own health, our own heart, right? Compassion to your family, your friends, your community, compassion to other creatures, other living creatures, as well as to Mother Nature. Without those, obviously, one can have lots of wealth, but may never have true happiness. I mean, that's the ancient belief. It still holds true. And I started this brand in 2017. Actually, I started to build my little facility in St. Louis, Missouri in 2016. But really out of people think it was totally outlier because I'm not the typical entrepreneur you would meet in the food and beverage field. I come from medical research field. I have my business training. I also worked in pharmaceutical business development for years. However, it's not like some young gal kind of say, I have this celiac disease or my kids have issue. Obviously, I want my family to eat and drink clean food. However, that's my incentive, but not, my main incentive was out of my passion in terms of empower people to reconnect with their true root of good health, which is actually Mother Nature. And I will explain more about it. I like to call myself a purposely displaced scientist. So since I was little, I just love traditional Chinese medicine. I have deep family roots in that field. I call it the ancient healing arts. It's definitely not, from the lens of modern medical science. There is no so-called rigorous clinical study to support lots of traditional remedies uses. But through years, thousands of years, and many of them probably beyond thousands of years, uses and practice and the knowledge accumulation from generation to generation, we know they work. Even in the modern...
empirical knowledge is quite important as well. Even in regular physics, the empirical, experience and knowledge is important. Very, very.
Yeah, so well said. I think the science is a word that we kind of human invented, because by nature, we're very curious. So we want to study the nature around us. And, we like to drill deeper, like, for example, in the medical science, at the molecular level, at the atom level, what's going on, right? Which is great. But, even in the current clinical study criteria, if you look at how they judge whether a pharmaceutical compound is effective or not, the simple thing is whether it works, right? There are many points you have to measure, but that actually is very in line, consistent with the traditional wisdom, the practice, healing practice. is for a really good traditional Chinese doctor or the Eastern medicine doctor, the way to see whether this treatment regimen works or not is to see the patient, observe the patient carefully, and then tweak the remedies, the treatment recommendation based on outcome. It's never because, oh, this is the remedy used for years, therefore you should be using it. It's always tailored to individual person's needs. And then that actually comes to, I would say the essence of Karviva's philosophy is like mentioned about this compassion and this self-awareness. It's like constantly mindfulness practice, right? It's like understand your body, what your body try to tell you instead of, right now these days, there's so many digital tools we can rely on, but your body will never cheat on you. If there's a pain around your joints, there's something going on there. So the fundamental difference of a painkiller versus a natural remedy or natural treatment regimen is the painkiller is like, well, maybe there's a thief or something going on in your house. The alarm is beeping. The painkiller is like, let's just pull the alarm device out. So shut off that annoying beeping sound. Versus the traditional Eastern healing wisdom is, okay, let's find out what is going on. What are the fundamental cause of this beeping sound? Let's solve that. And then that beeping sound will go away. So hopefully this is clear enough. So basically, I come up with this idea. It's not like suddenly overnight, gosh, I saw someone make lots of money because they started this beverage brand and they got acquired, blah, blah, blah. That's typical paths people like to follow. For me, it's like, okay, we have this amazing knowledge I was fortunate enough to inherit, and I love it. And then I have this years of medical research knowledge that how could I combine them together to help people beyond just my family circle, my friends, they love the things I make. Can I just use it as a spark or something to stimulate the thinking? I know I'm little, small business. However, for the industry or for the shoppers I serve, to think about what's the message behind Karviva. I think that's very important. The food and beverage industry, since I would say dated back in the 50s and 60s, we started to see heavily processed food and drinks being launched to the market. And then we start to see people's health start to deteriorate. Obviously when I was that's just undeniable. And then when I was in pharmaceutical doing my business development work, one thing I was shocked to see back then was, okay, there was so many amazing products in the pipeline, new treatment methods, diagnosis tools. However, the outcome in terms of the public health outcome was not like, people are getting all cured and have really high life quality. It's not like that. So for me, it was like, what? There's something else cause people getting sick. And obviously that's the lifestyle. And believe it or not, that's still a debate even until now. I think a couple of days ago, I saw a paper, a review, a medical review site, just basically taking us back to the 2010, that's quite a number of years ago, quite a while ago, that the first scientists raised the concern of ultra-processed food. Actually, he is a Brazilian. He's from Brazil. And he was brave enough. They did a study to show ultra-processed food cause, lots of health issues. But even until now, just like today, I was reading this industry news on Food Navigator. It says dietary guidelines for Americans Association. So we have this, kind of government body. They just had a meeting in May. So that's just less than 2 months ago. They're still saying, well, there's no clear evidence to show ultra processed foods is the direct cause those chronic, disease. I mean, I don't want to criticize how they view it, right? But if you tell even someone walk on the street now these days, asking him or her drinking lots of soda, right? Sugary soda, is that good for you or not? Doesn't matter if he or she enjoys doing that, they will say, oh, yeah, I know it's not good. Just like back in years ago when the cigarette industry tried their best, throwing tons of money in with their lobbyists, try to say smoking can do good things. And obviously smoking was kind of like a mainstream thing. And it's still, lots of, I think if you go to China, lots of Asian country, you still see people smoke. It's like a social thing, but we know it causes cancer. So I would say there's always this kind of fight in terms of pure profit-driven business practice and the business practice that combines with legit, ethical business practice at the same time, really with, I'll say it's mindfulness practice too, that the shoppers, the consumers you serve, are you truly providing a product or service benefiting them, benefiting their children? I think that's something that the large corporation in the food and beverage industry should really listen to. I mean, of course, they try their best to change their course, their product development, their product mix to tailor to this needs from the consumer side. Everyone now these days demand healthy, better for you, affordable food. However, I think is, you know better than I do. I think it all depends on how the incentives are set for the management team, at that time. And also one hurdle that is really hard for them to overcome as large corporation is you already have all these manufacturer standards, facility, formulation are there. How are you going to change them? I mean, the change is not that easy, especially if you look at how food scientists are trained, right? Food science is a branch of chemistry. That tells you something. Is mixing chemical compounds to make food. One thing they really emphasize on, which is really good, food safety. We should always respect that because safety first. You should never do harm. And then the second thing, of course, and which is also a core of the food scientists do, is how to make a food and a drink that's so attractive for you. It's almost like cocaine. Once you have it, you will keep coming back. I think that part really tap into the ethical territory. There's back then people can argue, oh, well, there's not direct evidence that those compounds, those chemicals will kill you. Yes, we know they're not going to kill you 10 minutes after you eat them. However, we know in the long run, they can cause plenty of harms, including fertility, right? I think I read research showing that ultra-processed food cause decline of fertility of just human beings.
So you have a line of beverages by the name of Karviva. And I looked at those ingredients, which, of course, for me, I'm an ingredient list reader. That's the first thing I do. And it's amazing that even though I do it as a habit, I sometimes can miss things that only later I discover. So I have a question for you to begin with. One of the biggest challenges when you create a healthy mix or a healthy beverage is you have a small group of hardcore wellness people who really would like to save time and not stand in front of their blender and make the juice fresh. We'll talk about that in a second too. But those people will say absolutely no sugar. And if it doesn't taste good, I don't care. It's going to hydrate me. It's going to make me healthy. There's a much larger group, much larger group that says, no, gotta taste really good, especially in the United States.
Yeah.
Usually, really good means taste like sugar. So I know you're using, I think it's monk fruit, how did you balance out the need of the real wellness seekers who really don't want, and I understand you don't have any, added sugars, you just have natural sugars that come, but how do you balance it with the need of the very many who say, I want it to taste really sweet? How did you resolve that conflict?
Yeah, that's almost like a balance. Life is a balance. And then based on the traditional wisdom, right? I mean, health is a balance of yin and yang. So you said it so well. I do have quite a few friends who are the typical health nuts you just mentioned. I have one friend, she would travel with her own packet food. She wouldn't go out to eat in any restaurant unless she's absolutely sure about what they have there. So that's the, extreme, group of people, right? And they can drink anything, like wheatgrass juice or whatever, the thing that most people, including myself, cannot drink. And then you have, I think Whole Foods did a segmentation study that was at least a decade ago. So there are 5 segments. So you hit the core people, just health nuts. And then in between, and then you have the other extreme is like, I just don't care. I just want indulgence. Life is short. I'm going to, enjoy my life right now, worry about things later, right? Then in the middle, then you have a whole spectrum of people, right? People who kind of can tolerate a little bit unpleasant thing, but not like yucky green juice, right, out of the ground. Then people can use more demanding, like more not to the extent sweet smoothies from Smoothie King, but in between. So for me, it's a fine balance tailored to this group. I can tell you the health nuts, I do see those people, they're going to go out of, basically it's like most people, like including myself, don't have the time or patience to kind of do your own home cooking or blending your own smoothie multiple times a day. Most people just either cannot afford to do that or don't have the time to do that. So for me, it's that convenience combined with health functionality and with reasonably good taste. I think our taste buds, not most of the American consumers, when I first started, it is true, especially in the region I am in, their taste buds are trained by sodas, by popcorns, by, whatever, those Cheetos, those chips, those kind of things. It is true. It is really hard to please them, I have to tell you. So throughout the year, I tried my best to adjust my formulation, the cooking methods, how do I blend the ingredients, the ratio, all those things to tailor to their needs. And on the other hand, I do see there's a growing group of consumers that actually don't prefer super sweet drinks, super salty food. And I even see that in this region, which is great because I think there are plenty of studies to show you can retrain your taste buds in actually about less than 2 weeks. So it's like if you want to train, for example, your client or kids kind of eat a little bit cleaner, healthier, their taste buds can be changed, but just needs a little bit patience. On the other side, monk fruits has been traditionally used as a natural sweetener. And the other thing good about monk fruits, it also has tons of health benefits, from the traditional herbal science. It is used for treating lots of respiratory issues. And then modern science show it contains natural compounds like have anti-cancer, even have anti-cancer activities. the real monk fruits, right? It's really good. However, I have to say, and I'll be happy to send you some of my drinks for you to try. My drink is never going to be as sweet as, for example, if you get like a super sweet drinks from Smoothie King or even Starbucks, right? They have plenty of sweet drinks, and I'm okay with that because I know my target customers, they don't want that kind of sweetness.
Yeah, absolutely. I belong to that narrow band of health nut. I don't care about the taste as much. Just
That's
give
awesome.
me the health benefits. But there is also the discussion. You have already touched upon it. Some purists would say, no, I'd rather buy the ingredients, use my own juicer, my own blender. I know exactly what's in there. However, as you said, the matter of us being very busy, sometimes we travel, and there is the convenience of having it ready. And how do you, overcome the freshness issue? So if somebody makes it in their kitchen, it's recommended that you drink it in the same day. Obviously, something has to be put in so it has a shelf life. How do you reconcile that something
Yeah.
with the purity?
Yeah, you hit actually a really important point. The shelf life is actually one of the driver for the industry to come up with ultra processed food. Because imagine food made with lots of extras, compounds. Of course, they can be shelf stable. I think someone made a joke that you can put McDonald's hamburgers on the street for days. It won't go bad. I didn't do that experiment, so I don't know. But of course, you can use Coke to clean your toilet. I've heard enough, saw enough video about that. But on the other side, I think the thing is about the ancient wisdom, right? The wisdom we inherit from people forget about that because we now have so many tools we can use. We have refrigerator, we have microwave. So what they do, think about this. The refrigerator made us, the freezer made us into this mentality is like, okay, I suppose just to put, these veggies or whatever things I purchased into my fridge, therefore it can be stored for a long time. And the microwave is, okay, I'll just put this food in there in 1 minute. I have a meal cooked. Okay, hooray. Wait, have you ever think about for millions of years, we never ever had those tools. But human are smart enough to invent methods to preserve food naturally without using chemical compounds. And I can give you, one example that I do every day is, for example, herbal remedies. And then food as medicine is actually a big core part of traditional Chinese medicine. We actually have this so-called food therapy thing, right? Using natural food to prevent disease or to help you to heal, to feel better. So for those herbal remedies, some of them, the cooking process takes weeks. It's amazing. And this natural process actually, not only it helps to solve this potential pathogen caused foodborne disease issue, because obviously there's always arguments about, you have people always say you can never cook any food because you're going to destroy all the nutrients, the enzyme. However, this is the culture I'm raised, and you can always spend days to argue about that. Is the best way is, especially for ladies, for our body type, the best way is always eat cooked food, including veggies. The reason is we want to do everything to preserve our digestive qi. So qi means energy. So you think about that, for thousands of years, our healing practice put the digestive health to the center of all health practice. And now it's actually being recognized and confirmed by the modern medicine. But it actually doesn't take much for even little kids to understand. Without a strong, good digestive system, you can spend thousands of dollars each month to buy the best organic food from the best place you can find. Your body cannot utilize them. It's just that simple. So, and we believe when we age, and of course, when we kind of don't treat ourselves with good compassion, including too much stress, of course, our digestive system will decline, eventually deteriorate. I mean, that's part of it is due to aging, natural aging process. So, and the Eastern healing medicine is obsessed with longevity. It's probably because we were ruled by so many king empires. They didn't want to die. They want to live forever. So there's always this drive to find something to make them live forever. So basically it's like, okay, if your digestive system is strong, even when you're getting old, you know what? You still have the energy to move around and you can still be healthy and you can live longer. And that's true. If you go to Japan, if you go to, obviously Mediterranean region like Italy, Greece, you find plenty of good examples of that. It's not about following extreme diet. It's about balanced diet, good nutritions, diversified food source. It's never about eating just cabbage, potato, apples, or whatever every day. It's about, you eat different things. You cook with different spice, different veggies, seasonal veggies, fruits, all those things. Nobody actually ever excluded whole grains. If you really go into, because I'm also into the food heritage kind of history, of course, there's always tribes. For example, even now these days in Africa, in Iceland, they have very little access to green vegetables or fruits, right? So their main diet source is animal meats, milk, or those kind of things. But they have different system. Because it's like our gene. Any of our gene can be turned on and turned off anytime. Depends on your environment, what factors you're exposed to, whether you're totally stressed out, whether you live in the city, in a village, different climate, your body will adapt. The other thing is those, like now people understand probiotic is those good bacteria. There are millions of strains living in our body. The thing is, if you feed them different type of natural food, you're actually cultivating a very healthy, balanced, all kinds of different strains unique for your own needs. I think that's the thing, going back, is there ways that you can make food, make drink that can have pretty long shelf life. It is true, my drinks is not cold pressed. I think cold pressed juice has its advantage and also has its shortage. Advantage is, it is true, it preserves vitamin C much better. It is true. I don't know about the enzyme, because the enzyme, here's the thing. If you really worry about, the natural enzyme from the fruits, from the veggies, then you should just eat the fresh thing, right? Maybe you can steam cook them briefly, or there's different cooking methods you can use, or you can just eat it as a healthy salad. That's totally fine if your body is okay with that. But the enzyme usually cannot be stored in that kind of condition for that long. I mean, when I was in biochemistry, right? Most of the enzyme we use in the laboratory setting requires, put in a freezer. There are certain kind of requirements to handle them. But I'm just saying, most of the vitamins, they are stable. Most of the nutrients, they are stable. And then certain nutrients, for example, vitamin A, vitamin E, like beta carotenes and then lycopenes in tomatoes, you actually need to cook them so your body can absorb them well. So I think it's actually not so good to mislead consumer about, you have to cook, you don't have to cook. I think we have to treat each individual as unique, a unique body. And also your body can change from day to day, like I mentioned. Someday you might be craving for fresh salad. Someday you might be craving for warm soup. In winter, you might just want some nice stew, slow cooking food. It all depends on if we really tune into ourselves, listen to what our body tries to tell us. I think that's the thing. Instead of, go on social media or just follow influencers or celebrities say, well, I'm going to do this, low carb or no carb diet, keto, not really good for everyone. Well, again, I don't know whether I answer your question. I like to talk.
Well, I just want to go back to the notion of shelf life and say,
Yes.
from what I understand, you're saying that the process of cooking is already a shelf life creator for a certain amount of time. What is the typical shelf life of one of your drinks?
Well, here's the thing. The shelf life for our juices are 1 year. You need the cooking process, the proper cooking process. You don't want to overcook them. And the other thing is you need to remove the air, remove the oxygen to preserve the natural antioxidants in the juice. Those things you got to do. Then you need to have the naturally lower pH. So pH, for example, like lemon. And then there's also what I find through my practice and experience is there are lots of natural compounds in lots of spice, natural foods. They are actually natural preservatives. For example, turmeric, some compounds from black sesame seeds. Actually, I think there are research study. Yeah, there are true science study to show this compound in sesame seeds is a natural preservative, extend shelf life as well. So for me, is watching those three things. It can extend the shelf life. But without, I have to say, yeah, I do like to cook everything. Again, is my culture training, is what we believe, is we like to cook everything. And I think it comes from in the old days, that's a way to ensure food safety. Another way, like I mentioned, some of the remedy requires a week or more than a week processing time. We have this very complex, it's like you have to cook, steam it, put it under the sunlight, dry it, steam it again. That process actually release the natural active compounds from those plant cells.
Well, actually, I can strengthen what you say with a very simple example of soups. Soups are considered in most cultures very helpful, very, you combine a lot of very good elements. People now love to talk about broth, including bone broth. So, I mean, this is all actually, this supports what you say about cooking.
Because it's so easy on our digestive tract.
Yeah.
Your digestive system don't have to do that cooking process.
Yeah.
You do that for your body, right? You cook.
No, there is more and more, there's
Yeah.
more and more science showing that a lot of foods are better off cooked, especially for many people who have certain gut, issues. So that's good. Now, when you open a bottle and you took a sip, should you refrigerate the rest? Should you finish it on the same day?
I finished the bottle in a minute.
Right.
That's my lifeline. But we do, that's a common question we got asked. If you don't want to finish the whole bottle, we say, yeah, absolutely. You need to put it back to the fridge. Actually, when during the pandemic, we had some issues with one of the sealers in our cap supplies because, it was just a disaster. So the package can be handled well if they pack them well on a pallet, right? Ship them to distributor, then to store. But if you just ship them to Amazon and then they ship them to individual shoppers, then they toss the bags, the package around. Once that seal get damaged, things can come back really quick. That's something I always tell people. We don't add any preservatives there. It will turn bad really quick. So I'm like, if you cannot drink it within a day, put it in the fridge. Don't ever leave them under the sun or hot day. In your room, just leave it out. I personally, I did experiments, right? Of course, there are laboratory shelf test experiments as well, but myself is because I personally don't like to drink anything cold, just a habit. I just always leave the drink, like if I need it this morning, I put the bottles out on my counter, let it warm up during the night, and then but I drink the whole bottle the second day, and they are fine. Our whole plant smoothie, the shelf life is 6 months. They're also cooked, but it's just they are more dense. Their pH, natural pH, are higher because they don't have that many like fruits inside. It's mainly whole grain seeds. So that doesn't have that kind of long shelf life, and it's not shelf stable. That requires a refrigeration all the times.
Well, it sounds to me that the size of the bottles is very manageable for most people to finish right there, either on the spot or within maybe 20 minutes or something like this. I also have to mention that the issue of potassium is, overlooked by a lot of people. People talk about protein. People talk
Yes.
about the macronutrients. Potassium is not that easy to obtain, and many things you can take in a pill, even vitamin C. There are many grades of what you can take. I'm not going to go into that.
Yeah.
But potassium, by and large, is obtainable from fruits and veggies mostly, and it's present in chicken and whatever, all of those things. I noticed that one of your drinks, I don't remember which, I think the green one, has in one little bottle 450 milligrams of potassium. Now, we are supposed to, in an ideal world, all consume, some people say as much as 7,000 a day, depending on your size. I don't think that you and I are the same size, or at least 4,000. So to get 450 from a little bottle, that is not a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe we need to go with nutrient-dense whole foods. The other thing is I like to use sprouts, because think about sprouts. Seeds, most people kind of don't think deeply about seeds, why seeds are so good, like whole grains and seeds are so good for us, because they are like, the seeds contain so much nutrients and power, life power, because it's supposed to give a new life. It has that much power with the right, condition, temperature, water. It will germinate into a whole baby plant and then start to grow. So sprouts actually is extremely nutrient dense, water, very rich in water. That's why it's really hard to handle sprouts, right? I mean, you can't find cheap sprouts on the market, and pre the food safety code, the sprouts farm have to use preservatives. So basically bleach to treat them before they release them to the supply chain. So I would say it's about really be mindful in terms of what kind of ingredients you use. This goes back to the traditional Chinese medicine. It's about the food synergy. It's about the ratio. The formulation is about what ingredient you combine. It's never about compile a laundry list of the superfood. You can Google search what are trendy, and I threw a bunch of stuff all together. It's never about that. And the other things, you hit an important point, is the mineral. We are so nutrient deficient. We are never calorie deficient. People in this country, I think, it doesn't matter, right? You can get enough calorie intake even by eating lots of junk food. That's pizza itself, or drink a milk smoothie, that's enough probably for a whole day. Calorie needs just to survive. However, most people here are nutrient deficient, because most of the even fresh produce grown from the grounds are very different than what we had 100 years ago. The other thing is lots of people, like you said, focus on protein, focus on low sugar, fats. They kind of don't know, because there's so many minerals. And minerals is especially important, because many of the minerals are the cofactors of the natural biological reaction, right? Biochemical reaction in our cells. Iron is a thing. Lots of people think, oh, I don't have anemia. You could have low iron level, and that's enough to give you energy trouble, because iron is needed for energy generation inside mitochondria. Lots of people may not know that. Copper is needed too. Like you said, potassium is so important to regulate just every day, every minute, the cell function. So it balances out sodium. It helps our water, kind of prevent our water to kind of water retention, right? People can get like, they feel like, how come my leg always swollen, afternoon? Well, there are many things you probably want to check out, whether you have a heart problems, whether you have a kidney issues, or it could be you just low in potassium level. And many ladies don't even know, I mean, this mineral, we call it in the traditional Chinese medicine, even in India, is very yin in nature. And that's very nourishing to females. It's very important for our reproductive hormones, all those hormone balance, those things. And like you said, unfortunately, not many people kind of don't know about it. And that's something very lacking in processed food source. You can never get that kind of stuff from just eating pizza, hamburgers, or of course, those potato chips.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for the vast majority of people, if you take a swig or you finish a bottle like this or two a day, it'll be a major, upgrade from what you normally do. And even for the pure eating people, it's a time-saving mechanism. By the way, do you guys make the drinks only, the juices, the bottles, or do you have some other products as well?
I personally, I make my own healthy snacks, but I cannot do that in my facility because, that needs to be certified and approved by the FDA, and it's totally different requirements. I just don't have the bandwidth to handle that. But, there are many good ways to, I mean, it might take a little bit of time, again, like we're trained by the microwave. We have the microwave culture. We have no patience. And now we are further trained by the devices, right? The short videos, people only have 3 seconds attention
By the
span.
way, the notion of microwaving is a real mystery to me because I think
Yes.
there are enough studies showing that you should absolutely boot the microwave out of your home and spend a minute heating it on a pan or something like this. But anyway, also very, very recent research, really from a few months ago, is now showing that this supports everything you're saying too, that our magnesium requirements are actually much higher than was believed to be. So, I mean, once again, minerals. So all of this kind of works together. Maybe you can run, I know it sounds almost like a little bit silly, but just for information, maybe you can run through the main drinks, what they do.
Yeah, sure. So I grouped them actually, my core ones are the detox. I mean, I call them detox because of mung bean sprouts. I love mung beans. Mung beans is one of the core, I mean, we love so many whole grains, but mung beans has a special place in the traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, it's actually a natural food, of course. It's a safe, I mean, we have lots of ingredients that's safe enough for daily consumptions without side effects. They're herbs, medicinal herbs that, you need to be very cautious, in terms of how you use them. But mung beans actually, scientific, speaking, it contains two natural compounds. They actually chelates the toxic chemicals, and they have these properties, so they can kind of just imagine this is a biophysic interaction, and then they can help your body to eliminate those chemicals because we're just exposed to so many toxins. It's, in the old days we were, but now it's just like probably quadrupled or 10 times or 100 times more. I can't count because there are so many man-made chemicals everywhere now, which are foreign objects to ourselves, right? So they were never being exposed to those chemicals until now we just suddenly have them. So those immune cells and all those cells, including the good bacteria living in our guts, in our body, they are like shocked. What to do with them? We never recognize them, right? So that's why we have this chronic inflammation. So detox is important, but I never like those kind of those juice cleanser thing. I mean, they say you just drink 6 bottles, 7 bottles, those juice, and that's not good. I mean, for me, it's like you need to do this daily gentle detox. It's basically remove the toxin from your body. But at the same time, you should not starve yourself from the good nutrients. You should still take enough protein, veggies or fruits, what whole grains, eat a regular meal. But at the same time, you want to detox. So I love mung beans. So those are you'll see the green bottles. I use lots of sprouts. And then I have the immunity drink. Well, it's just, I mean, this is really for the marketing reason, right? I have to find one core word I can use on a bottle. So I say immunity. But for example, my rejuvenate, that's the goji berry dates with mango. That's actually a ancient remedy for, it's like a beauty tonic. So it's really good for eye health. Goji berry is well known for boost immunity, but it's also great for our eyesight because of the natural compounds. But at the same time, you need to know where you source that goji berry. Because again, that climate, especially that soil condition, right? Whether it's particularly rich in certain type of minerals are so important. And then I have the Viva. Viva is the ashtaba with pomegranate and cherry. So ashtaba is, I highly recommend that. I mean, unfortunately, we cannot grow them in this country. They just, the seeds somehow just can never germinate here. It doesn't like our climate here. So it's only from Japan, and in like even in Indonesia, they have a place you can grow it. But it combines the best you can imagine from both the sea, the ocean, as well as the land. So it's very rich in minerals, of course, fiber, antioxidants, and so it's beyond immunity. You get what I'm saying. And then my Joy D has this natural vitamin D. It's the high vitamin D mushroom. Actually, that mushroom is from California. It's really simple. They just expose the button mushrooms to the sunlight. I'm sure you know. And then the mushroom has this ability to basically make vitamin D, not D3, D2, but our body, there are research paper to show our body can still utilize them, right? So again, vitamin D is important for immunity, but also it's important for many other cell process, physical functions in our body. I have the smoothie. Smoothie is actually the core foundation of like food therapy. Is about balanced nutrition. We love whole grains, not a processed grain, because the outer shell of the whole grains, it is so important for our health. It's very rich in certain type of prebiotics. People now finally start to understand prebiotic. When I first started, when I went to Expo West, my little booth was surrounded by people because I put a prebiotic sign there, right? People say, what is prebiotic? But I'm so glad people now understand prebiotics, basically the feeding food for probiotic, right? So essential. But you cannot just eat one particular prebiotic. You want a whole spectrum of prebiotic because it's different type of fiber. That's how you have this diverse little good bacteria in your body. It's not about just having 10. You want a whole group of them. And the whole grain, the outer shell is also very rich in minerals. So that's something, that's why we like to use the whole grain and mixed with seeds and then maybe a little bit fruits. Very nourishing. It's very balanced. We call it the sweet nature. There are 5 flavors in the traditional Chinese medicine. The sweet flavor is not about sugar. It's like if you chew a piece of rice, it gives you this natural sweetness, right? And that's very toning. It's really nourishing for our body. It's really good for our digestive system. But, and I have the sports recovery drinks because for me, like sports drink, for most of us, we are not football player. We're not trained like 6-7 hours a day in the field, sweat like crazy. We don't need that kind of high sodium level. Of course, for pro athletes, I understand if they do need, increase their salt intake. For most of us, we don't need. We get enough salt from other food source. So for me, it's come up with a very clean, balanced recovery drink that has collagen, antioxidants, and natural electrolytes. Is actually just the minerals from sesame seeds. Seeds, again, very rich in minerals. So for me, it's basically about the formulation, the food synergy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly going to get...
It's a lifestyle.
I'm going to get...
Yeah, it's basically a lifestyle.
I'm going to get these products and I'm going to test them because, again, a cursory read through the ingredient list and what it contains left me with a very positive impression. I mean, so that was a good start for me.
Yeah. Yeah, but what is about food therapy is amazing. I mean, we use so many different things like lotus seeds. I mean, they're fox nuts. You're like, what are those? But we use it for different reasons. Like depends on the color. Like the white color goes into our lung. The white color is also very nourishing for our spleen meridian. But meridian is basically our digestive system. And the liver channel is so important for our, many people have this emotion blockage. For example, for ladies at the reproductive age, many female in this country suffer PMS. And I just like, that's actually a very simple fix. You don't need hormone therapy. You can simply fix that with eating the right food and just doing the right movements. That's it. Even in the severe case, you might need acupuncture therapy, those kind of things. But that's again, the purpose of me starting Karviva is really, I hope to kind of let people think a little bit deeper about their relationship with nature. So it's like with natural food, right? I mean, are you even take advantage of the gifts we receive from Mother Nature? And how do we use them, right? I mean, everyone is busy. I also hope, the food beverage industry will really find ways to use natural whole food ingredient to make convenient food. It's not to use chemicals to make convenient food. There's a fundamental difference there.
I don't watch the commercials on TV because when I do watch something, you can either watch a streaming service or you can just run through. But sometimes, if somebody at my house left the TV running in the background and I pass by, the commercials that I see are of two kinds. One kind, fast food, and they never talk about quality or health. They only talk about price. Can you believe that for $4.95 you can get this fries with a big soda and amazing? So that's one. The next one is some sort of a medication, and you see people frolicking in the field with their grandchildren, and a voice is reading all the side effects, and it's an unbelievably long list. You could die, you could get this, and there are, so it's really funny. Half of it is fast foods based on price only, and half of it...
You said it so well, they are twins.
The twin, yeah. So, by the way...
No, as I mentioned, they all come from the chemists, right? I mean, chemistry is important. Personally, I love chemistry as a science. I mean, it's fascinating. It says human being always curious about learning nature, learning about ourselves, learning the universe. On the other hand, I do think pharmaceutical compounds can be life-saving. I'm never against that. But the goal is not to get to that stage. You have to pop a pill every day or a dozen pills every day.
No, but it's also part of the culture. You talked many times during this interview about people not having the patience. And of course, we don't have the patience also because we live with this brick in our hand. So people want a quick solution, and to pop a pill is a very appealing solution. The fact that they read many side effects in the background, many people don't even, they just looked at the people in the field running and having fun. So, I mean, it's also part of the culture of needing a quick fix, the low attention span, which we all suffer from. I suffer from it more now than I did before. The more I spend time on this, my attention span gets less, You mentioned before, I think, about your family. Can you tell us a little bit about your family, just so that we know you a little better?
Yeah, sure. My family is actually has a very interesting story. My dad was born and raised in Indonesia. He's my grandpa, so his father was from Fujian, so that's the southern part of a little town by the ocean. What happened is that when he was playing on the beach, when he was a little boy, and he was kidnapped. Oh, yeah, back then, years ago, human trafficker, seriously, he was sold to Philippines first, and then again to Indonesia, and then hardworking, smart boy, and then gained preference from his master, and then married one of the daughters. That's my grandma. from Indonesia, and my dad had this feels like his connection with China. So when after Second World War, he went back to China with a heart to feeling like he had to build his motherland. It's like the calling from far away. My mom she is from northern part of China. Also very interesting story. My other grandpa was one of the first accountant, had the accounting education. So that was in the 1920s, which is really weird to find such talent. So the Japanese, when they first occupied the northern part of China, they hired him. And he didn't know. He just, worked for them. Good job. And at the beginning, everything went pretty well until things started to go down the hill, and he was labeled as a traitor. And then it was, there were lots of interesting story. But anyway, so my influence on my passion of traditional healing wisdom is actually two of my close relatives. One is my uncle, the other is aunt. My uncle is a pioneer in study acupuncture using modern neuroscience. So I'm a firm believer of how acupuncture can cure impossible, like disease that cannot be cured with many modern methods, treatments. And then my aunt, she studied herbal medicine focused on women's health. Women's health is a big area in traditional Chinese medicine, using more like a modern tools. So when I was little, I visit them, their labs, and I just love that kind of stuff. And I self-studied many of the herbal remedies, and I ventured into different culture heritage across the world. It's not just about in Far East, every culture has its way. That's how human beings survived. We always say the disease are always there. Oh, but now we have just lots of modern disease that our ancestors probably either they didn't live long enough to deal with, or they didn't eat the bad food. They had a stress, just different type of stress. People think, oh, they are less stressful. I don't think that's true. Like when even in the caveman age, if they were chased by a tiger, they had a huge that's big stress, right? I mean, even in the few hundred years ago, people were still stressed out whether they can feed the family, they can feed themselves. When there's disease, infections, they could die any minute. So it's different stress, but now we're just dealing with different things. And because the technology has been evolving so fast, it's really hard for our human body to catch up.
Well, Angela, I want to thank you very much for taking your time. I know you're extremely busy. We learned a lot from you. I'm certainly going to get some of these drinks and try them.
Yeah, sure.
Once again, thank you so much, and we hope to see you soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to share my words with you and your followers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me today. Click the subscribe button for more video. Got a question or comment? I love questions and comments. Leave yours below. And here's another video you've got to see.